Let's move on to the press review now with Emily Boyle. Hi, Emily.
Hello, good morning.
Emily, you're starting us off with coverage of Donald Trump and his attempts at getting a deal with Iran.
Yeah, let's start with Time magazine. It has this article here today looking at the Abraham Accords. Now, it explains that President Donald Trump seems to be hinging a peace deal with Iran on Arab nations recognizing Israel. Trump has reportedly reached out to leaders in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Pakistan and many others, asking them to sign these Abraham Accords. Now, they're a set of agreements which were developed around in 2020, which look to normalize relations between Israel and Arab countries. Let's have a look at Politico. It's also covering this story here. It says that Trump's demand is being met with laughter, dismissal and often silence by US allies. In many cases, governments would prefer walking away from mediation rather than risk angering their publics by establishing ties with Israel. Foreign policy also covering this situation as you would expect. There has this article here today, says that the Iran war has remade the Gulf. This article says that the region, quotes, knows Iran has won the war and is therefore hedging its bets, and that countries will not lurch towards any single power. Now, finally, on this story, let's have a look at The Atlantic with this article here today. As Trump struggles to find a solution for the crisis in the region, The Atlantic looks at why Trump keeps getting, quotes, rolled in negotiations. It says that Trump will try to spin any Iran deal he makes, but that he's actually ill-equipped to gain real concessions.
Next, Emily, artificial intelligence, hidden environmental costs is under the spotlight in the papers today. What do you have for us?
Yeah, a number of interesting articles on this topic. Let's start with Politico, though, and this article here today. It reports that the EU's Environment Agency chief has told the EU that it has to ensure that tech companies disclose the ecological impact of their data centers. Now, in the hopes of keeping up with China and the US, Brussels has announced that it wanted to triple its computing power in the next 7 years, a goal which has sparked sustainability concerns given the large amounts of water and energy that type of infrastructure needs. Now, this is a problem that goes beyond the EU. This article here in The Guardian looks at Chile. The Guardian looks at how this data center boom is exacerbating droughts in Chile. And what you see here, this photo, is a picture of Google's largest data center in Latin America, in Quilicura. Now, Quilicura is one of Chile's largest wetlands, but locals have said that these iconic swamps are drying up in front of their eyes. Now, researchers have said that data centers in the area consume 1.5 billion litres of water annually, and Google alone in the region has rights to extract 50 litres of water a second, around the equivalent to the annual consumption of 8,500 Chilean households. Now, faced with such environmental degradation, a number of people are fighting back, not least Cassie Solberg, who you can see here, a Montana local, who is standing up to big tech, Erin Brockovich style. Now, this long read in the New York Times explains how Cassie is trying to oppose the construction of a massive data center close to her property until key questions about the environmental impact are answered. Now, the project would be built on an area of grassland you can see here, and it would be the size of around 4,000 football pitches. Now, Cassie has been creating petitions and religiously attending town council meetings to try and hold authorities to account. But this is a really interesting long read if you want a closer look at the impact of those data centers.
I'll definitely have a look. Time for something a little lighter now. Roland Garros is in full swing. That's the French Open. And a new young French player might be the revelation of the tournament.
Yes, Moïse Koumé is the person in question. He's a breath of fresh air for French tennis on the front page of the Équipe. At only 17 years old, the young Frenchman eliminated Marin Cilic in 3 sets yesterday. Moïse Koumé is the youngest player in the Open era to defeat a Grand Slam champion in the men's singles at Roland Garros. He'll be back on the clay tomorrow as Roland Garros action obviously continues today and the next few days ahead. But there's more sports to look out for, especially if you're a football fan. The final of the Conference League is taking place this evening as Crystal Palace will face off against unexpected finalists Rayo Vallecano de Madrid. Meanwhile, the English Eagles, are hoping to get their hands on another trophy, a brilliant addition for Glasner if he can make it. All of that action kicks off at 9 p.m. this evening.
And finally, Emily, a historic study that has finally brought us answers to a very important question.
An extremely, extremely important question that I've been asking myself for a very long time. Why do T-Rexes have such tiny arms? I mean, they're completely useless, they can't even reach their own mouth. And for years, scientists have tried to come up with the explanation about their evolutionary function, like, for instance, holding down prey or actually impressing potential mates with their tiny arms during courtship, which I'm not quite sure how that would work. Some have even suggested that the arms got smaller so they wouldn't get bitten off during feeding frenzies. But a new study claims to have found the answer. It found that the tiny arms were actually the result of a revolutionary and evolutionary trade-off caused by another part of the T-Rex getting even bigger, and that's its skull. Now, apparently, evolution tends to prioritize things, and in the T-Rex's case, it prioritized the skull and jaw to become its main weapon. And so the arms kind of became useless and obsolete and just ended up getting smaller and smaller. I'm not sure which one I would prioritize if I was a T-Rex, but I'd maybe give the arms a bit of a push.
It's really fascinating. I can't wait to tell my 4-year-old about this, who loves dinosaurs. Thank you very much, Emily, for that press review. That's all for this edition, but we'll be back in a few more minutes for more headlines.